Have you ever heard of a family so powerful? They ruled the Vatican like a crime empire? A family accused of murder, blackmail, and even poisoning their dinner guests? This isn't a Netflix series. This is real history. The Borgia family wasn't just powerful, they were feared. They didn't just rise to the top, they crushed anyone who got in their way. And somewhere in the shadows of their legacy is a mysterious object whispered about for centuries, the Black Book, a secret ledger said to contain the names of those they betrayed, bribed, or buried. Today, we're opening that book. We're diving into the real horrors behind one of the most ruthless dynasties the world has ever known. This is the Black Book of Borgia, and what's inside may just change how you see history forever. The Borgias weren't born into royalty. They were originally a humble family from Spain, with no claim to a throne or empire. But that didn't stop them from taking over the most powerful institution in Europe, the Catholic Church. It all began with Rodrigo Borgia, a man whose ambition knew no bounds. In the late 1400s, Rodrigo moved to Italy and quickly climbed the ranks within the church. His charm, cunning, and willingness to do anything for power didn't go unnoticed. By 1492, he did the impossible. He became Pope Alexander VI. That's right, the man at the top of the Catholic world was a Borgia. But instead of leading with faith, he used his position to build a dynasty. The Vatican became his personal playground, and the church became a tool for corruption, greed, and brutality. But it wasn't just Rodrigo who was at the heart of this family's rise. His children, especially Cesare and Lucrezia, would also leave a bloody mark on history. Cesare was ruthless, a brilliant military leader who showed no mercy to his enemies. Lucrezia, on the other hand, was known for her beauty and intelligence, and for being at the center of one of the most twisted family dynamics in history. The Borgias didn't just want power, they wanted control over everything, and they'd stop at nothing to get it. When we think of the Borgias, one word often comes to mind: poison. The Borgias were infamous for their use of poison to eliminate rivals, enemies, and anyone who stood in their way. And it wasn't just an occasional act of violence, it was an art form. It's said that they perfected the art of subtle poison, invisible, tasteless, and deadly. And they used it liberally. Perhaps the most famous example? Pope Alexander VI, Rodrigo Borgia himself, was rumored to have poisoned his enemies in order to secure his grip on power. But it wasn't just rivals outside the family. Even some inside the Borgia circle found themselves falling victim to the deadly grip of this family's secret weapon. The rumors of poison were so widespread, people believed that Lucrezia Borgia, Rodrigo's daughter, was a master of the art. Legend has it that she used poison to rid herself of inconvenient husbands. Whether or not that's true is still debated. But one thing is for certain: the Borgia's reputation for poison was terrifying. Cesare, Rodrigo's son, wasn't just a ruthless soldier on the battlefield. He was rumored to have used poison to eliminate rivals in his quest for power. The family even reportedly had a special ring that dispensed poison into a drink. This was not a family known for mercy or second chances. It's said that they didn't just kill, they erased people, made sure they were never heard from again. But was it all true? Or were these rumors just part of the Borgia myth? Historians still debate how much of it is fact and how much was exaggerated. But one thing is clear: the fear surrounding the Borgias' use of poison was very real. It's what made them seem untouchable, dangerous, and even supernatural in the eyes of their enemies. The Borgia family wasn't just about power at the top, it was about power within. And at the heart of this power were two names that would haunt history for centuries: Cesare and Lucrezia Borgia. Let's start with Cesare. Cesare Borgia wasn't just a son of the Pope. He was a military genius. He became a feared mercenary leader who carved out territories with blood and steel. Some even say he was the inspiration behind Niccolò Machiavelli's The Prince, the book that became the ultimate guide to ruthless power. But Cesare wasn't just a general. He was a man of ambition, a man willing to do anything to seize control. The brutal murders of his political enemies weren't uncommon. He's said to have betrayed and killed allies to expand his reach, showing no mercy, even to those who once helped him rise to power. Then there's Lucrezia. She was the beauty of the Borgia family, often painted as a seductress and a poisoner. But the truth is far murkier than the myths that surround her. Lucrezia was married off multiple times, each marriage strategically designed to strengthen the Borgias' grip on power. But with every new husband, tragedy struck. Rumors swirled that they died under suspicious circumstances. Poison, ambition, we'll never know for sure. But the idea that Lucrezia was involved in these deaths was a story that stuck. But Lucrezia wasn't just a pawn in her family's schemes. She was intelligent and politically savvy, even if she had little control over the choices made for her. Over time, she even broke free from the Borgia web, finding some degree of peace in her later years. But her early life? It was filled with suspicion and manipulation. So, were Cesare and Lucrezia truly villains? Or were they just products of their father's ambition and their family's bloody thirst for power? Either way, their names are forever tied to the Borgia legacy, and their stories continue to captivate, scandalize, and terrify. When we think of the Vatican, we imagine holiness, purity, and devotion to God. But under Pope Alexander VI, the Vatican was anything but holy. Rodrigo Borgia, now Pope, didn't just sit in a church and pray. He turned the Vatican into his personal playground, and it was anything but a place of sanctity. Imagine this: the man in charge of the most powerful religious institution in the world, making deals with criminals, bribing officials, and hosting wild, debauched parties. Yes, parties. One of the most infamous events of the Borgia reign was the Banquet of Chestnuts. This isn't your typical dinner party. It's said that Pope Alexander VI and his guests, some of the most powerful men in Italy, gathered in the Vatican to feast, drink, and indulge in extreme excesses. What began as a simple feast turned into a night of orgies, sexual games, and a display of unholy behavior that would make any modern-day scandal look tame. Historians aren't entirely sure of the details, but one thing is clear: the line between sacred and sinful had blurred completely. Rodrigo didn't just use the Vatican for his own pleasures. He also used it to build a personal empire. He sold church offices, granted power to his children, and even used his position to amass wealth. It's said he bought votes to become pope in the first place, ensuring his reign by any means necessary. And while the world saw him as the leader of the Catholic Church, Rodrigo acted more like a king than a pope. A king with a crown of corruption and decadence. The Borgias didn't just enjoy wealth and power. They flaunted it. Rodrigo surrounded himself with art, luxury, and lavish living, all at the expense of the church and its followers. The poor, they didn't matter. The scandal was so widespread that people outside the Vatican began to see the church as just another corrupt institution, run by a man more interested in indulgence than salvation. The Borgias weren't just messing with the politics of Italy. They were destroying the very foundations of the church, turning the Vatican into a place of sin, greed, and manipulation. Now, this is where the line between history and legend becomes truly blurry. Amidst all the scandal, murder, and deceit, There's one thing that has kept the Borgia mystery alive for centuries: the Black Book. What is the Black Book? Well, no one really knows for sure, and that's what makes it so tantalizing. Some say it was a secret ledger containing the names of everyone the Borgias had wronged, bribed, or murdered, a detailed account of their corrupt dealings, names, dates, and perhaps even poison recipes. Others believe it was filled with blackmail material, a tool to control and manipulate the most powerful people in Europe. But did it really exist? Historians are divided. Some claim it was just a myth, a story invented to explain the Borgia family's ruthless rise to power. Others believe the book was real, hidden away in secret rooms, locked away for fear of its contents becoming public. The idea of this book, a dark symbol of the Borgias' power, has haunted both the people of the past and the historians of today. It's the kind of thing that keeps you up at night, wondering what dark secrets it might hold, or who might still be searching for it. Could it have been destroyed after the fall of the family? Or is it still out there, buried in some forgotten archive? Perhaps its pages hold evidence of murders, of conspiracies that would shake the foundations of history. It's said that the Borgias didn't leave anything to chance. Every move was calculated, every secret kept close. The Black Book may have been their ultimate weapon. If you controlled the book, you controlled everything. Even today, it lingers in the shadows of their story, a mysterious relic of a family that will always be remembered for their power, terror, and secrecy. Power doesn't last forever, and for the Borgias, their reign was no exception. Despite their terrifying grip on Europe and the Vatican, the Borgias' empire eventually crumbled under the weight of its own corruption and ambition. It all started with the death of Pope Alexander VI. Rodrigo Borgia, the patriarch who had spent his life building an empire. In 1503, Rodrigo suddenly fell ill and died under mysterious circumstances. Some say he was poisoned, perhaps by one of his own allies or enemies. But whether he was killed or simply died from natural causes, his death marked the beginning of the family's downfall. With the Pope gone, the Borgia grip on power began to slip. Cesare Borgia, once the fearless leader on the battlefield, saw his own empire start to fall apart. Stripped of his political power, he was left to fight for scraps. In 1504, he was captured in a humiliating defeat, and his once promising military career came to an end. Cesare died in 1507, far from the glory and power he once held. His death was violent, and though details remain unclear, many believe he was betrayed by those closest to him. As for Lucrezia, her story took a quieter turn. She outlived her notorious family, surviving her father's death, her brother's fall, and the scandals that followed them. She remarried, this time to a man of higher rank, and lived out her years in relative peace. But despite her attempts to distance herself from the Borgia legacy, her name was forever linked to the horrors of her family's rule. By the end of the 16th century, the Borgia name had become a symbol of everything dark and corrupt about power. The family was broken, scattered, and forgotten by the world. The influence they had held over Italy, the Vatican, and Europe faded into history. But here's the thing about the Borgias. Their legacy didn't disappear. It transformed into something legendary, something terrifying. To this day, the Borgia name is synonymous with corruption, betrayal, and unimaginable power. Their story is one of caution, a warning about what happens when ambition goes unchecked. Their rise to the top was lightning fast, their grip on power terrifying, but in the end, they were consumed by their own excesses. The Borgias prove that power built on lies, poison, and manipulation has an expiration date, and when it runs out, even the mightiest fall. And though the family may have vanished, their myths, their crimes, and their secrets continue to fascinate and frighten us to this day. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.